My name is Simrith, and I was at IIT Gandhinagar between 2018 and 2020. The book I'm going to introduce to you today is called I Am the Smartest Man I Know, and it's been written by an author named Ivor Gaver. Now, quick disclaimer, this is the pronunciation that is mostly European or American. He, of course, is Norwegian, so I'm given to understand that for all you know, it might be Ivar Yavar. However, for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to go with Ivor Gaver. A little bit about the author. Ivor Gaver is a Norwegian American physicist who won the Nobel Prize for Physics along with two others for his work in experimental physics in 1973. How did I stumble upon this book? I don't believe I would have heard about this book if not for our library. Our fabulous library, as you know, at IIT Gandhinagar sends us books of the week. And in October 2019, this was one of the books of the week called I Am the Smartest Man I Know. And the accompanying synopsis, when I read the accompanying synopsis, I decided I had to get my hands on this book and read it. I'll come to why in a bit. But long story short, I marched off to the library and issued it just before the December winter break, and I read it on my journey home and at home. Now, why did this book intrigue me so much? I am fascinated by the question of how people choose their line of work, essentially, and the role that chance and active decision making play in forging a life path forward. And when I read the summary of the book talks about how Ivor had a very ordinary childhood in Norway and then a very unremarkable undergraduate career in university. Then he went on to serve in the Norwegian army, married his childhood sweetheart, and then traveled to Canada, then America, where he got a chance to work in, I think, R&D with General Electric, where his work in superconductivity led to worldwide recognition and then eventually also the Nobel Prize. By the way, he also did the PhD simultaneously while working on at General Electric on the R&D. So when I think personally of a Nobel Prize winner, I think the tendency is to think of someone who's gone narrow and deep in a very linear fashion in this one field. This is kind of far from the truth. It's definitely not the one way of doing things. And that's definitely something that comes through in this particular book. It's a lot like this. It's not linear, which is what I was very interested in because I myself have worked in a host of different industries, ranging from manufacturing to advertising to learning and development to innovation to smart routines. And I decided that this was one book I really wanted to get my hands on. What I love about this book is it's imminently readable. It's fabulous. It's engaging. It's fun, and you don't even have to approach it from the point of view of, hey, I have to learn something from it. You can just read it and have a lark. But let me not describe it any further. Why don't I read you a passage? I have my system in front of me here. And of course, I don't have the book with me. That's, of course, in the library. I would urge you to go issue it. But I found a passage, a preview that was available to read on Google Books. And I'd like to read you a paragraph to give you an idea of what it sounds like. So hopefully that encourages you to go and get it. So here goes. Enjoy. My parents were rather strict by today's standards. At the time, the adults were adults and the children were children and not their parents' best friends. At the time, it was like two different worlds. The adults lived in one and the children lived in the other. As a child, you respected the adults, but you did not confide in them. Personally, I feel that's similar in a lot of cases even today. Probably the adults were too busy making a living trying to understand their children. Should the adult world not approve of something that was going on in the children's world, corporal punishment was routinely administered. When my brother John and I were very young, my father sometimes had to slap us on our behinds when he came home from work because of something we had done wrong. Spanking was never done in a rage. We accepted it as much as our parents did. That was how things were done, and there were no hard feelings on either side, as far as I can remember. I actually treated my own kids the same way my parents treated me, and today I'm very proud of how they've all turned out. But times have changed, and I'm not sure I would have spanked my children if I were raising them in today's world because it's probably illegal. Looking now at some of my children's and their peers' difficulties with their kids, I am convinced that my parents did the right thing. After all, when you do something wrong, and children always try to test their limits, you have to take the penalty. In life and in science, it helps to know the rules so that you can figure out when to obey them and when to try and break them. That's the end of the paragraph. So, this is one of the many delightful, simple but incisive passages throughout the book. This was only the one I found on Google Books. But if this sounds interesting to you, go issue the book. And like I said, you don't even have to approach it from the point of view of learning something from this Nobel laureate. You can just read it if you want to read something for the first time. People have asked me what I would recommend to them as a first time read. In that list, I would certainly go ahead and add this. It's a great book. Go for it, and I hope you have fun. Until next time, cheers.